The following episode does not constitute medical advice and is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It's like GPS for your life. The Sky Vibe Show. Authentic, practical astrology in easy-to-understand terms. With your host, Judy Diamond, and professional astrologer, Thomas Miller. Welcome to another edition of the Sky Vibe Show with professional astrologer Thomas Miller. I am Judy Diamond, your co-host. And we are we done yet with Mercury in retrograde? Let's start with that.
Well, yes.
Phew, I'm wiping my brow. What's the hesitancy there?
We've got Uranus in retrograde now.
Okay,
instead.
I don't know. What does Uranus, first off, remember I'm like 5 years old when it comes to astrology. What is Uranus as a planet?
This gets a little bit thick in the woods today, so I really pulled a bunch of things out that we're not going to talk astro talk, okay? So that's
thank you.
The one thing. But we do have to at least predicate why are we talking about what we're going to discuss. So we have to kind of bring a planet or a sign in now and then, right, to substantiate this, because they're what's predicating all of these things that we're discussing. So the blue planet Uranus was discovered by telescope in 1781. But did you know that you can actually see it with your planet
Nope, I did
without
not
binoculars?
know.
Yeah. I did one time in North Carolina, and it was amazing. I mean, you can tell the blue planet is out there, and it is blue in the sky.
I was going to ask if it was really blue.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, you see it just like you see Mars as red, you see Uranus as blue, but it's very, very faint. So it's best if you have some binoculars, and then you see a little blue dot way up there in the sky, but that's it, and you can see it.
But that tells me it's kind of close to us then.
Yeah, well, I mean, for all those millennia, they never identified it, and then all of a sudden, in the late 1700s, how about that? Isn't that wild?
That is wild.
So look, here's the thing. They attributed Uranus with Aquarius, the sign. So Uranus, in the astro terms, rules Aquarius. That means they have similar characteristics. Now, we have something coming up that is going to shift everything in our planet, in our world. So those of you who kind of think that this astrology stuff is like, I don't know about this astrology. There is something that I think if you just watch unfold, you will see, and we're going to talk about it in the context of that Uranus, not only does it rule Aquarius, the sign, but it also rules or oversees astrology itself.
I did not know that.
So here's kind of how we break all of this down. You asked if Mercury had come out of retrograde, and we call Mercury in retrograde the trickster, right? Because it likes to just mess with stuff. Our technology, that's the one that everybody is like, my phone doesn't work. Why did
Mercury is in charge of communication.
Yes, it is. It is. So all of a sudden, your audio board stops working in the middle of the show. It's that kind of thing. It's like, wow.
Or I get wrong texts back and forth to where they lead to fights, on a personal level.
Oh, yeah, you've had that. I remember. Yeah. Or you text the wrong person. Whoops.
Oh. Happens all the time during a Mercury retrograde.
Well,
Yes.
if Mercury, so Uranus is kind of known as the higher octave. In other words, it takes all of Mercury's characteristics up to a higher level. So if Mercury is the trickster, let's call Uranus the disruptor.
Oh.
I knew you didn't want to hear that.
Well, Aquarius is a disruptor in many ways as far as an astrological sign. They want to see change, I think.
I'm glad you're correlating the two, because they really are one and the same. It's a morph. Yes, they are different, but it is this whole big thing. So here are a couple of characteristics that I just pulled out so that we don't have to talk astro speak.
Thank you.
We are talking about a planet, but an energy or a dynamic of change, radical change.
Well, I think anyone can feel that coming on.
Yeah, exactly. Like revolution kind of change.
Wow.
Now, let me bring one other thing into this, and that's the planet Pluto. Because Pluto in November is getting ready to enter Aquarius for the next 20 years.
Now, I know Pluto is transformation. Pluto can be death, but also transformation, correct?
We always say death. It rules death, and we do die. Our dogs and our cats die. Everything dies, right? The tomato that you had in your salad for lunch was growing and green and vibrant until somebody plucked it from the vine. So everything has a point of origination and a point of death.
Or transformation, I like to call it.
That's just part of it, exactly, because for us, it is a transformation. We believe that our souls continue right on,
Correct.
that we are infinite. So in astrology, Pluto has been attributed to the combination of exactly what you just said. I think of the cocoon and the butterfly. So the caterpillar has to go weave a cocoon and die and reemerge, a beautiful butterfly.
Such a great metaphor. And I have a butterfly tattoo for that very reason.
Wow, there you go.
Yeah.
Isn't that beautiful?
I believe in that.
Well, and that is the process, and we can go through that ourselves in our own lives.
Many times.
So Pluto represents that kind of change, like what doesn't serve anymore gets morphed into something absolutely beautiful.
Now, we're talking about the collective, the world right now. Am I correct?
And you and me. I think the collective is the sum of the individual.
Wow.
So I think yeah. So this is going to affect everybody. And I've got several examples of why this is playing out the way that it is. I mean, we are talking, I moved out here to California, and I'm about 10 miles away from the San Andreas Fault. All of my life, I grew up hearing that all you wackos out here in California were going to one day rattle and roll and shake and break and
up in the ocean
and end up out in the Pacific on your way to Hawaii. Right?
Yeah. I'll surf there.
Well, now I are here, and I'm on the in between the fault and the ocean side, so I'm totally screwed if that happens.
Or you could look at it as you're going to be there when it happens, in the room where it happens.
But this whole idea of shaking and rattling and changing is something that we are all getting ready to go through, because those are the symbolisms that we're talking about. When we put Uranus in retrograde, Pluto, and Aquarius together, this is what we're talking about. So the last time that Pluto was in Aquarius was the late 1700s. Why so long ago? Because Pluto takes 248 years to go around the sun.
Well, it's doing a lot of work. It takes its time. Busy.
It's tough stuff, right?
You don't push that stuff. Doesn't need transformation is not easy. Thomas,
somebody call the Astrological Society and tell them this new definition of why.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, they appointed it well. You're exactly right. So it takes it a long time to go around. And so we go back to the 1700s. Well, what two big revolutionary wars happened in the late 1700s?
The American and the French.
So there you go. I mean, does history repeat itself in these astrological cycles? Frequently. Is it an absolute? No, I think this time will be completely different, obviously. But I think we will be in this zone between now and the mid-2040s where any of this kind of shakeup that we're talking about is possible.
Wow. So we're talking politically, we're talking socially, we're talking with our planets.
We're talking across all boards.
Yeah.
So if you think about think of just the revolutionary characteristics of all of this, challenging the status quo.
That's Aquarius for sure.
But let's also talk about how many of you believe that there are so many worn out things now that just don't serve us anymore, that really do need to change?
Absolutely. Industrial Revolution needs to go back to what we
you
were.
could make your own list.
Mm-hmm.
So there is the context. And then Uranus, another thing that it represents is surprises and sudden surprises. So all of this could come down quicker than we think.
Wow.
Now, another really cool thing that I love to attribute to all of this is also collective and individual genius. You remember Wayne Dyer, the writer?
Of course.
Who did the PBS shows?
Dr. Wayne Dyer.
He had a great line, "Don't die with the music still in you."
Wow.
That thing that you would love to birth in your lifetime before you step off this plane. Don't die without giving it a shot.
Wow.
And
Find out what you're meant to do in this vessel you're in now and do it.
And that's your genius.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, you're good at what you do on the morning show and on the podcasts, but you also have a genius within you that even transcends that. Don't die with the music still in you.
Absolutely. In fact, it's weird you say that. I just wrote a very maudlin poem, stream of consciousness. I was journaling, and this came out, and I'll have to post it because it's pretty deep, and it says pretty much that. It's weird that you brought that up because it talks about, am I to be comparing to a shell on the water? Am I going to be just, disintegrate to nothing, or will I be washed ashore and made whole again? It's really kind of cool.
That is cool. And once you understand what we're talking about today, and once it sinks in and you get it, then those kinds of things, as they come up and you see them in yourself and you see them in others, won't be a surprise anymore. You'll be going, see, here's the underlying thing. If I could just pound this in, things are changing. They are not going to be the way they were. So don't expect to go back to the good old days pre-COVID, 2018. 2018
so jump on that spiritual
enlightenment
train and just
things are changing.
Join us.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it is, and it is, as you said, across the board. It's going to affect governments, corporations, social orders, how we interact with each other, how we resolve our disagreements, which we're seeing being played out across the world in tragedy right now. All of this is going to come under this umbrella. Now, let's talk individually for a minute, because we can talk collectively all day long, and whatever happens out there is going to happen out there. But you and I can control what we do.
That was my next question, is what can we do as individuals?
So one of the things that we can do is be watching for and experiencing this internal change and shift. We're going to switch paradigms. Now, how many times have you told me, and I know you hear this, and the folks that you interact with and the people you hang out with over the weekend and do things with socially, etc., are all saying this, that they're feeling this separation, like certain people have been leaving our lives. Like all of a sudden, there's that suddenly, right? All of a sudden, people are, boom, I had a big family situation happen. Totally unexpected. See, that's this kind of energy. So it's already playing out, or we wouldn't have so many people experiencing this. You wouldn't be hearing about it on the social plane in St. Louis. All over. Your California friends are talking about it. Your St. Louis friends are talking about it. Your East Coast friends are talking about it. Your European friends are talking about it. It's happening everywhere. Part of that shift is that things that don't serve anymore are being pulled away as people are making choices whether they're going to take the higher ground or the lower ground. And there are a lot of people that are really seeing the higher genius, that higher plane of personal and spiritual development in a completely different picture. And the folks who are not getting it, and this gets a little sensitive, I get it, because the door's open for everybody. But you could put somebody down, you could put 10 people down on the floor, and there are $100 bills all over the place, and somebody's not going to pick some up. It's like you just don't get it. It's like, wait a minute, this is a grab bag situation.
Right.
That's basically what we're talking about here, and why friends are changing, families are changing, social structures are changing, and it just doesn't feel normal. Like, wait, this shouldn't be separating like this. These have been lifelong friends. I've known this person since I was in junior high. And now all of a sudden
But I also think that sometimes in order to get to transformation and change, one needs to be completely uncomfortable and live in what I call the uncomfort zone. And I just saw Hamilton, and so many things that stood out as to what's now. When Hamilton says to Burr, if you stand for nothing, what will you fall for? If you fall, that stand, you've got to stand in what it is you want and you believe in. Stand for it and be there. And you might lose people.
Yeah. And see, Here's the thing. We haven't had time to think about this. We haven't had time to come up with the strategy for this. It's like it just hit us. And all of a sudden, people are separating. So what that tells me is there's a lot of subconscious work that had been going on for years. And that's what's driving the separation. So the people that have subconsciously been saying, there sure is more to this life. I know that it's not just this physical reality. I know that there is something higher. I know that there is beyond the realm of this physical plane. This can't be the whole thing. Like we live for these brief few decades and then we die and that's it. And the folks that are trying to grab the $100 bills off the floor before the horn blows, they're the ones who aren't getting it, and they're the ones that are separating. So it's the people that are more wrapped up in the physical reality. And then we can extend that, obviously, out to governments that are trying to grab, corporations that are trying to grab. Take it all the way out, however far you want. You get the idea. But
I think
that's
also
the shift.
I do want to put out something that is a very positive thing. As you go through transformation and as you follow this journey you're on, you're not alone. So you might lose people, things, places, but you will gain in other ways. There are a lot of soul tribes out there waiting with their arms open that you're not alone. We're one of them.
I know it sounds scary, but the caterpillar has to go into that cocoon.
Yeah.
And that's change, and that's different. And wait a minute, I've got to go be alone for a while? If you can keep that in mind. And I do have some real positives from all of this. In fact, one is that there is a big signature of entrepreneurship through this.
Oh, Thomas, I have seen it like you would not believe. I do a CEOs You Should Know. Do you know how many percentages of young female entrepreneurs I have seen taking leaps of faith and just dropping everything to just start their own businesses? It's wonderful. And we're talking organic skincare line I just did with a young lady. This stuff, to me, it gives me chills.
Well, that's coming big time.
Yay.
Over these next 2 decades. So see, you're already seeing this stuff.
I love
it's so
that.
Cool.
It gives me chills.
I love it.
I just love it. Yeah.
So
very
anything,
powerful.
what's an action step positive that you can take right now? If you have some kind of an idea for a side hustle or mailbox money, go for it. Don't die with the music still in you. Get that going. Find that second source of income because the energy is there to support you, like Judy just said.
And find me because I'll do a podcast on you.
There you go. Get you on the radio.
I'll put it out there for you. It doesn't cost
Exactly.
you a thing.
Hello.
I'm all about taking leaps of faith because it's what's going to change the collective and what's going to bring us all in a better place.
Well, that is huge energy through this. So anything around particularly the creative arts and communication, writing, write that book, write that blog, get yourself out there in whatever way you can. Being a negotiator, bringing two sides together in unique ways is something else that's going to be happening from this. Now, here's another one that I know you know about. There's also another signature encased in all of this about moving around and changing our geography, feeling unsettled where we are. Even for some, feeling unsafe or nervous about where they are. Just that desire to, I've thought about this for so long. And I know that even since COVID, a lot of people have changed locations and the rural areas are looking more, or were looking more attractive. And now people are coming back to the cities. And all of this shift is part of this energy as well.
Looking for home. I'm still looking for home. I know it's inside of me. But I'm saying, I'm still roaming. Roam if you want to, roam around the world. But that's also part of my chart. I see it all the time. I'm told all the time that's in your chart. You're gonna try. I've traveled a lot and moved a lot, and every place I'm at has never felt quite home. But I've enjoyed every place and learned. So that's not a bad. Again, that's not a bad place to be either. To question all that.
Oh, I don't think so. See, this is one of the cool things about this whole dynamic that we're in. I mean, we're in it right now. Uranus is going to be retrograde until the end of January. But then Pluto, during this retrograde, moves into Aquarius for the next 20 years till 2044.
Right during an election. I mean, that's huge.
It's huge. And that's why, I don't want to get into that side of it, but
Right.
yeah, all of this, like the disruptor is going backwards in the sky. What does that mean? Well, it means that it can amplify things, but it also makes things a lot more, it brings all of those characteristics we've talked about right more into us individually.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're a nation, that's an entity, it brings it in to the nation.
I do want to say, though, I'm tired of being the divided states of America. And if I stay in America, I would like to see it united again. And this is an opportunity to either be divided or united. We shall see.
Yeah, it is. And it might take that even Jesus said the wheat and the tares, or the wheat and the chaff. Here's the good fruit, what you're trying to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And then here are the weeds that you have to get rid of.
Yeah.
And that's, boy, do we ever see that now.
Mm-hmm.
There's one other area I wanted to mention, and then I've got a little thing I want to try on with you and see how it lands for you. But one of the other areas is around your topic on the morning show, soulmates.
Oh, yes.
Partners, relationships.
Twin flames is a big thing
flames.
on TikTok.
Well, there's a tremendous focus that is going to be applied during this, especially between now and the first of the year, about discovering whether, A, that's the path you want to go down. Do I want to be in a partnership? Or what kind of soulmate might I meet?
Mm-hmm.
And separating that from the facade that is so prevalent in the dating world today of something appearing one way, and then you peel the cover off of it and you find out that it's not what you had bargained for, that deception. Mm-hmm. And I think the separation of those two is going to get more prominent as well. So in other words, for some, it's going to provide the opportunity for that spiritual soul partner.
Mm-hmm.
And it might be that people look at each other differently and they say, ooh, all of a sudden, I just don't see what I saw before. I see what's really there.
Interesting.
And
or maybe, as I found out, I've been labeled a Sigma female. Maybe you're okay being solo.
Is that what that is?
Look it up if you haven't seen it yet.
I
There's
haven't
always
seen
got to
it.
be labeled
I'm the
for
last
something.
to hear up here.
Yeah, they got to label everything. But I did the test 3 times, and I'm a Sigma, which is really interesting.
Uh-oh. Well, that's okay. All right.
No, it's a good thing. I don't mind. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, exactly. And when that happens, like the ending will be a completion, a natural completion, a closure and a moving on. Because, again, things are separating.
I'm already there at that point.
You just had one, didn't you?
I
Kind
did,
of.
yeah. Yeah, I did. It's very interesting, yeah.
So
crazy.
I
crazy.
knew
Can't
that,
make this stuff up.
Well, when I put all this together and took a look at this and really picked it apart, I knew that so many of these things were where you already are. You're already experiencing them. You're seeing them.
Mm-hmm. Big
all
time.
right, so let me try to paint a picture here and see how this goes, all right? So
I'm
let's
ready.
just try this on, that there is ahead of us a massive, collective, that's Uranus and Aquarius, spiritual awakening or transformation, that's Pluto and its power, that is going to perhaps suddenly or surprisingly, Uranus, shift people's spiritual reality. And a part of that shift is going to be a broad acceptance of astrology and these other mystical practices on a whole new level across the collective, Uranus and Aquarius. And these other practices, one thing I want to say is they are not demonic or satanic or in any other kind of way in and of themselves evil. And that's one of the, I think, walls that will be torn down. And the evidence of that is what's been going on in so many churches today. And I know you probably have seen the headlines. Pastor after pastor after pastor is tumbling, resigning from their ministries, big churches, thousands of people affected because of sexual crimes involving children.
Lies and deceptions and all kinds of horrific things.
Now, you want to see demonic? That, Judy, is demonic.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the biggest discoveries, or one of the biggest ahas that I've had over the last year and a half, is that there is good, quote unquote, and bad in any spiritual practice.
So true. Yes, absolutely.
Doesn't matter the flavor. So we can't call astrology of the devil. Astrology is the study of planets that God hung in a perfect circle around the sun. Now, Big Bang or Little Bang or amoeba in the swamp or God spoke, Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created. However it happened, all of those planets from Mercury to Pluto are in a perfect circle in space. Now, tell me that was of the devil.
No, that's God's GPS. I say it over and over again. That is God's. It's almost like the guy who, again, that joke where he says, I asked for you to save me. He goes, I sent you a boat. I sent you a canoe. What more do you want? I sent you a helicopter, for heaven's sakes. We have the signs are there. We're getting these messages straight from God. That's
There's
pretty
not
cool.
good or bad in astrology any more than there's good or bad by going to the Sunday sermon of the pastor who, during the week before, was doing things in a closed room with a 12-year-old.
It's called interpretation.
And yet there's good in that church. There's
Absolutely.
good work being done in that church.
Sure.
They're probably giving to missions and they're feeding people and all of this. You see, you can't isolate and say, oh, this is good because it has this label and this is bad because it has that label. And I think that's also part of what's going to be coming down.
Good. We need
So
it to
then,
come down.
where do we go with this? Well, if you and I choose our higher path, if we say, what is my, I love the term, highest timeline, that just is like a...
That's a Thomas Miller, by the way.
It's
Don't
a
steal
thing.
it from him.
Just like, no, it's way out there. It's like
I love
so many
it.
people use it. It is. It just is a great metaphor for in every area of my life, I want to try to live on my highest vibe.
Mm-hmm.
If you do that and I do that and others do that and people listening to this choose that, all of a sudden we're starting to affect the collective.
Yep.
And that's maybe how this ripple effect takes place.
And if you ever want to test any of that out, a simple test will blow your mind is go into a grocery store and get a mindset of love, complete and total love. Every person you see, you are just going to send them so much love and you watch your reaction. You just watch.
Wow.
You will be shocked. You try that test, you will understand what vibration and energy can be when it's beautiful.
Now, does that work in the one that begins with a W and has an M in the middle of the word?
Believe it or not, it does.
In there the other day, and there was no love happening in that place.
Sometimes you have to really go inside. It's not always easy. I was in a situation last week, and I won't talk about, but it was something that really was hard for me. And I went home extremely down about the situation I had to be in, and I had to look at it differently. I went into my own meditative self and thought, wait a second, Judy, you're judging all these people. You're judging. How much better are you? I had to bring it back to me. And once I did that, I was able to forgive my judging and send them love. All of a sudden, a lightness came. So you can find that. Sometimes it's harder than others, you know?
I love that. How beautiful. Yeah. And what a great way to wrap this up. But that very thing is to say, at the end of the day, I am going to stand for love. I don't think we can miss.
Totally agree. I just got chills. I'm almost in crying over that. Wow, that was beautiful. Very powerful. And so true.
Subscribe to the Sky Vibe, the podcast, and it's free on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts. And thank you.